Today is day 31, the final day of the month. We have successfully completed the challenge somehow. And what better way to end it than my Premier League predictions. Alright boys, this is what everyone's been waiting for. Watching all their prediction videos every year. Let's get into mine. We'll go from 20th to 1st. Here we go. 20th place, Sheffield United. Sheffield United is my 20th place because they've just never had it in them to be able to make Premier League and stay in it. They always perform pretty decent in the championship, but they never are good enough to stay in the Premier League, and they're just not a Premier League team at all. They are actually just bad. I don't have any faith in Sheffield United at all, and I see them 100% making 20th. I know people said that about Bournemouth, so I shouldn't say this, but there's just no way they don't get relegated, and I'm putting them dead last because their team they have now is significantly worse than the team they had a couple years ago when they were in the Premier League, and they got relegated then. So I just don't really have much faith in them. So 20th, Sheffield United. Next up, 19th. Sadly, I'm going to have to go with Luton. I'm choosing Luton to go 19th because I feel like they just don't have it in them to be able to stay in the Premier League. I know Bournemouth is very similar to them and they ended up doing great. Everyone counted them out. But I don't think they'll get dead last because they'll just have a lot more faith and hunger and motivation than Sheffield United will. But I still think they'll get relegated just because, first of all, they haven't really made like any signings at all. And from a small Premier League club, you need to get good players in the summer transfer window. That's one of the most important times for your club, the summer transfer window before going into the Premier League. And they just haven't really done anything worthy of them not getting relegated. I hope they don't, because I'd love to see Luton stay in, but I'm sorry, I just feel bad for them. They're not gonna get dead last, but I think 19th. 18th, Nottingham Forest. They were just not really good last season. I don't know. I know they have Gibbs White and Awoni and Johnson and now Navas, but Forest is just not a very good team. They barely got away with it last season, not getting relegated. And I just feel like there's so many good teams in the Premier League, and if you had to order them, Forest is just gonna be in that bottom 3 teams. Cause I thought they deserved to get relegated last season just because I feel like, how did Leicester get relegated and Forest not? I just like, when I watch Forest games, they just don't look like a good Premier League team. And I just don't see them staying up. 18th for them. 17th, barely surviving the relegation battle, Burnley I'm going with. People think they're going to do absolutely amazing and have so much faith in it, but I don't think so. The only reason people are hyping them up is because Kompany is the manager, and everyone knows Kompany from this generation because he was just playing like a decade ago. But they're just not that good. They're a fine Premier League team, and they did good in the championship, but I just feel like they're just not. They're gonna stay up. They're gonna stay up, but they're not gonna have a great performance. They'll maybe get like 10 wins and just enough to stay up. But their team, people are putting them in like 10th or something, and I just don't agree with that at all. They're just not good enough to do that. Their defense is just absolutely abysmal, and they're just gonna get shredded apart. Maybe they'll score some goals, like maybe like a Leeds where they can have great counterattacks but bad defense, but that didn't really work out for them. So 16th, I'm going Fulham. I'm going Fulham. Here's why. I'm going Fulham because they did great last season. They got like 10th. But with the second season curse, and also the fact that Mitrovic is gone, who was like their top scorer last season, and Solomon, who did so good for them in the second half of the season, I just feel like they don't really have anyone leading the pack, scoring the goals. They haven't found a replacement for Mitrovic. I just feel like their team has only downgraded, and I feel like it's downgraded significantly, and I just don't see them having a good season. I think they're going to be fighting for relegation. I think they're going to be fighting for relegation till the end. And I honestly wouldn't be too shocked if they actually did get relegated. I think Sheffield United and Luton and Forest are worse teams, but they could get wrapped into it. Fulham just they don't look too good next season. 15th, I'm going with Wolves. Wolves, they always finish around 15th, I'd say. They'll maybe be in the relegation battle for a bit. They just have a consistently decent team that will always perform. I don't see them getting relegated for a while, even though they're in the running every now and then. They're just such a consistent team, and I feel like 15th is just where they belong. 14th, I'm having Bournemouth. I feel like Bournemouth's going to have a very, very similar season to last season. We're gonna have some streaks where we get a bunch of wins, some streaks where we get a bunch of losses, constant inconsistency, but just enough to make us comfortably stay up. And I feel like we'll finish one place higher than last season. We lost Lerma and didn't really find a replacement for him, but our defense has definitely gotten significantly better, which is very good. And I could definitely see Kiefer Moore playing more of an instrumental role. And I think getting Areola was a very, very smart choice. I know Gary O'Neill did keep us up, but Areola is just a lot better than Gary O'Neill, just in every way. And I have a lot more faith in him, and he's more of an attacking manager, so I could see us scoring a lot more goals, and our defense is definitely going to be improving. So I think we're going to do pretty well, but still nothing too special. 13th, Everton. I went with Everton because I don't think they're going to be in the relegation at all, like the relegation battle, really. Maybe for like a little bit, but not really. Their team just looks so good next season. I know they lost like Damari Gray, but they still have roughly the same team. I feel like Mick Neal is really going to pull through next season and do really well for them, especially him and Dan Juma on the wings could be deadly. And whoever they get up top, whether it's Mapoy, Calvert-Lewin, or a new striker they might sign from Sporting, they're just going to be able to be constantly feeding that striker. And no matter who it is, they should be able to put them in. And I feel like Sean Dyche getting to work with the team more. He's a great manager, and I could definitely see them doing a lot better. And possibly a return of Prime Dele Alli. 12th, I went with Brentford. I think Brentford's going to do worse than last season, purely because of the Tony situation. Him not being there till January, that's just wild. That's 4.5 months where you just don't have your best player. And I feel like that's just going to really kill them. He'll have no experience playing in games or anything when he comes back. That's like almost worse than an injury. So I just feel like that's really going to hurt them in the long run. And I feel like they'll finish 12th. I'm hoping Wisa can hold the line up while he's gone, but especially if Raya leaves, because I know there's rumors of him going to like Tottenham or something. But yeah, I think they'll finish 12th. 11th, I have Palace. Palace are another consistent team. I think they're just gonna miss out on top 10, but they just constantly have great players putting in good performances. They're gonna miss Zaha for sure. And I feel like Olise is gonna have a breakthrough season, so I think they'll be able to fill that role of Zaha pretty well, but they'll probably finish roughly about the same spot. 10th place, I'm putting West Ham. West Ham super underperformed last season. They went from Europa League to almost relegation, and I feel like they won't be good enough to make it back up to the Europa League in that season, in one season, but I feel like they'll make some good ground and get 10th. I think that last season was kind of a fluke for them, but missing out on Rice is going to be huge for them. So I feel like 10th is a decent placement for them. 9th, I put Aston Villa. I feel like they might be able to finish a bit higher, but there's just so many better teams than them. But I still feel like they're going to be an outstanding team next season with Unai Emery. And just, I feel like Watkins is just going to absolutely pop off this season. And Ben Rama. Ben Rama's looked so good in the summer series games. And I could see him putting up like 15 goals for them. He just looks so good and in form. And yeah, I think they'll do really well. Not as good as last season, but maybe they'll get Europa League. I don't know, but I think 9th. For 8th place, I have Brighton. Brighton is going to do absolutely phenomenal, just like last season. They just have such good talents. They haven't really lost anyone, and they've only gained good players. They're going to have João Pedro, who's also looked really good in the summer series. They have Matoma and Ciccio, Ferguson, so many young players that are just absolutely phenomenal, and they're just gonna thrive. I really have a lot of faith in them, and I think they'll just miss out on Europa League, but it's incoming. I tell you, they're gonna be fighting for Europa League and Champions League in a couple seasons from now, and this is just the start. Tottenham. Tottenham's just gonna barely make Europa League. This one was kind of hard to predict because I don't know what's going on with Kane, but this prediction is based on Kane staying. I would probably put Tottenham lower if Kane doesn't stay, but I think Kane will stay, and I think he won't do as good as last season, but he'll still do absolutely phenomenal because he always does. I don't know if he'll put up 30 goals, but that's why I'm just putting them a little bit lower. And I just feel like hopefully Son comes back and can actually help out the team and not just hinder them. And I feel like they're also going to struggle with Lloris not being their goalie. And their defense just isn't very good at all. Their defense just isn't good enough for Champions League. So I think they'll make Europa, just barely. 6th, I put Chelsea. Chelsea have looked absolutely phenomenal in the preseason matches. Jackson and Mudryk and Nkunku are going to do really well, but I still feel like they need time to adapt and integrate into the team. Same with Pochettino. They need time. They're not just going to go from 12th all the way to Champions League in one season. I feel like 12th to 6th is a massive jump, and I feel like they should be really happy with that. But they're going to slowly make their way up the table, and I feel like they should be happy with a performance like this considering how they finished last season. But Chelsea are going to be deadly. 5th, I put Man United, just missing out on Champions League. They really haven't done good in preseason at all, and Ten Hag did do really good last season, recovering them from their fallout, but really end of the season they didn't really do that well. And I just feel like it would either be Newcastle or United that take that spot, and just Newcastle just have so much more passion and grit, and they're just more hungry, and I think they might have a better team on paper than United. So I put United in 5th. I put Newcastle in 4th just because they're just so good. Anderson is looking really good recently in the summer series games. Almiron is on point again. Maybe another return of Miggy. And they're just so good, and I think they'll make Champions League again. They're just such a good team and exciting to watch, and I'd be so happy if they finished 4th again. That might be a little long stretch because I don't know if it was just the hype from going from relegated to Champions League that pushed them to get it done, but I feel like they still have that hunger and grit, and they're gonna make it again. third place, I went with Arsenal. Arsenal's going to have another phenomenal season. They'll make Champions League. I think the title race will be between Arsenal, Liverpool, and City, but I feel like Arsenal will drop off probably around January and just be out of it. But they'll still have a great season. They're going to be really good with Rice, obviously Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli, Ramsdale. They just have such a good team, and it's so young, and they have so much time to build on it. And if they consistently keep getting these top 4 finishes, they're going to be fighting for the league more and more every season, and they may even win it pretty soon. But for now, I think they'll get third and won't have as good of a season as last season, because I think Liverpool will finish second, and I feel like Liverpool will be a much better team next season. Their team on paper looks absolutely phenomenal, and I can't wait to see them playing some games. They've been doing great in preseason, but the real question is if Klopp can turn this great team on paper and make it work great on the pitch, because I feel like last season was a transition season for them. They had a lot of players leave, and they just... Yeah? And they just didn't really know exactly what they were doing. But I feel like Klopp's gonna get this team in shape, get them ready, and it's just gonna all work out for them. And I think they'll compete for the title till the end. But I think Manchester City will win it. City's gonna win the title with Haaland, De Bruyne. Their team's just too good. They're gonna win it for the next like 4 years at least. They're just looking so good. And there's not much to say about them. You guys already know. They're just out of this world. Thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you all for tuning in to the 31 Day Challenge. Comment down below how many of the 31 days you watched. I'll see you guys.